Would you imagine if it was an integer?
So I thought, sure, there would be some, at least a couple. Monday, July 18, 2022. It's my pleasure to introduce our village clerk, Pramod Shah, who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance this evening.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The meeting will come to order, and the clerk will please call the roll.
Trustee Sutker.
Here.
Trustee Robinson.
I'm going to ask for a motion after you call the roll.
Trustee Kuhn.
Here.
Trustee Johnson.
Here.
Trustee Pure Slovin.
Here.
Trustee Klein.
Yeah.
Mayor Van Dusen.
Here. I'd like to ask for a motion to permit Trustee Robinson to participate in this evening's meeting remotely. He may be a few minutes late. I understand he's in transit from the airport in Florida to his destination. So a motion at this stage would be in order, and when he is able to, Trustee Robinson would join us. So a motion is in order.
Moved.
Trustee Pure-Slovin, seconded by Trustee Klein. Call the roll, please.
Trustee Sutker.
Aye.
Trustee Kuhn.
Aye.
Trustee Johnson.
Aye.
Trustee Pure Slovin.
Aye.
Trustee Klein.
Aye.
Mayor Van Dusen.
Aye, the motion passes. So Trustee Robinson will join us just as soon as he's able to. Next item on the agenda is approval of the consent agenda for this evening's meeting. A motion would be in order. Trustee Sutker, seconded by Trustee Johnson. Is there anything on the agenda anybody would like to have removed? Call the roll, please.
Trustee Sutker.
Aye.
Trustee Kuhn.
Aye.
Trustee Johnson.
Aye.
Trustee Pure Slovin.
Aye.
Trustee Klein.
Aye.
Mayor Van Dusen.
Aye, the motion passes. Before we proceed to the Block Party Awards, I would like to call on Trustee Sutker for some comments. As many of you may be aware, Trustee Sutker is a licensed social worker and therapist with an awful lot of impressive experience. She put that experience to the test in the last couple weeks in Highland Park. I need not tell anybody here about the horrific events in Highland Park. Not only were 7 people murdered and approximately 30 people wounded, but the trauma to the psyche of Highland Park and to all of her neighbors, including the village of Skokie, has been traumatic and dramatic. And so Trustee Sucker has some reflections for us and a suggestion for our village. God forbid we should ever suffer any kind of trauma like our friends and neighbors to the north did. So it's my pleasure to call on Trustee Sucker.
Thank you, Mayor. I think we need to remember that although everyone desperately wants to move on after the horrific mass shooting in Highland Park on Independence Day, it's important to process the trauma that we all are going through as a community. Many of us have family, friends, or work colleagues who were at the parade. People process trauma differently. Some people won't be able to sleep, others will sleep too much. Some will not be able to eat, others will eat too much. Some will want to talk about it, others will not. The first step in healing is knowing that you are not alone and there are good people who care about you and want to help you. Ultimately, it is important to find a way to allow your feelings to come, stay, and go. It is okay to make time not to be okay. Being kind to yourself and to others is important after experiencing a trauma. It also is important and normal to seek help if you need a professional to talk to about your feelings. The Village of Skokie Health and Human Services Department has a list of resources that was published in the July 12, 2022 Skokie News. You also can call the department at 847-933-8208. As a village, we must be prepared to respond to a community trauma. I have proposed the Village institute a mental health reserve corps of volunteer, licensed mental health professionals to activate if necessary. This would be similar to our medical reserve corps, which helped us respond quickly to H1N1 and COVID by staffing our clinic. As a licensed clinical social worker, I will be the first one to volunteer. Stay tuned for more information on our mental health reserve corps. Thank you.
Well, and I think we all know that within our community, there's a wellspring of experience and goodwill. And if anybody is a licensed social worker or psychologist and would be interested in working with us in creating a reserve corps, please do let my office know or let any member of the village board know. God forbid we should ever suffer a similar or a dramatic trauma such as Highland Park did. But a reserve corps certainly would be something that would be very helpful. And during the COVID, we were the first municipality in the suburbs to do COVID matching. And it was literally day and night. But we would not have been able to do it if it wasn't for the reserve corps. So in a similar fashion, along the lines that Trustee Sucker has just proposed, once again, if anybody is interested or knows somebody who is interested, please do let us know so we can take their participation. And with the vote on the consent agenda this evening, the village board has appointed 4 people to our various commissions. And I would like to ask each one, when I mention your name, to please stand and let us recognize you. For the Commission on Family Services, Nadira Shapley-Wells, thank you. On the Fine Arts Commission, James Van Arsdale. James? And participating by Zoom, gentleman with the puffy beard, Rabbi Rubner. Rabbi? I guess we lost Rabbi Rubner. Good man. I knew him when he was just Ralph Rubner. This will be his second tour of duty, and he will be on the Human Relations Commission. And then finally, on the Public Arts Commission, Mary Fedorovsky. Mary? We do appreciate all of the hard work that we know you're going to be putting in. The boards and commissions, as you will see very shortly, participate in the very livelihood of this village. They counsel the village board, they propose new ordinances and new programs for the village, and they also help the village as being our ambassadors to the community. We appreciate all of the work that each and every one of our commissioners do. It's thankless sometimes, but it's the kind of work that keeps Skokie ahead of the curve and helps us keep current. So thank you, Nadira, James, Rabbi, and Mary. We're going to put you to work very shortly. Thank you very much. We appreciate your volunteerism. And in keeping in that spirit, it gives me great pleasure to introduce the chair of our Human Relations Commission, Maria Monastero Bueno, who will present our Block Party of the Year awards.
Thank you, Mayor and trustees. Welcome, everyone. So happy to be here tonight. The Human Relations Commission reviewed applications for the 2021 Block Party of the Year Award, a process which recognizes the efforts of community members to build relationships with their neighbors and promotes quality of life for the whole community. Winners will have a sign installed on their block that denotes the recognition of this award. Last year, 63 block parties were organized throughout our Skokie community. Within those 63, 16 block parties applied for the Block Party of the Year Award. Upon reviewing the applications for the Block Party of the Year Award, the Human Relations Commissioners were impressed by the creativity and themes among our Skokie neighbors. The following 3 block parties are being recognized tonight as winners of the 2021 Block Party of the Year Award. And I would ask that as I call off the name of the block, if the representatives here would please come up. The block of 8037 Lowell with representatives Linda, Katie, and Roberto, and Katie and family. So the 8,000 block of Lowell Block Party received the most votes with their Lollapalooza Block Party Parade theme. They had a water balloon toss, sidewalk chalk, neighbor potluck dinner, and various activities for the adults and kids going on all day long. The neighbors came out in full force with the parade, eating together as neighbors in a full gathering, a true spirit of bringing a palooza to Skokie. My brother. Congratulations. Thank you. Oh my God. The next Block Party Award goes to the 4300 block of Madison Street with Representative Chris. If Chris is here. The theme of this block party each year, oh my goodness, the whole family, this is great, is BYOP, Bring Your Own Pumpkin. And this year they outdid themselves with their Halloween theme, a huge pumpkin jump house for the kids, candy contest, outstanding pumpkin carvings, and a ton of potluck food, and of course, candy. So congratulations. And the third block party is the 8100 block of Costner. Representatives Alex and Ida.
Alex didn't make it, so we brought our other neighbors.
Thank you. You could bring the whole block. We love it. So the best parties are the ones where other blocks come and join in on the fun. And 8100 welcomed other blocks showing their true Skokie spirit. They had a donut eating contest, face painting, a craft station, bounce house, and bike parade during the day. But that is not all. Once the sun went down, the projector went up and the popcorn came out. The adults made a fire pit and the kids watched a movie outdoors, while adults shared stories about the block from the older neighbors to the new neighbors. Again, sharing the true spirit of what block parties are all about. And just one other note, I would like to, on behalf of our commission, express a personal thank you to all the village officials, our commission members, and especially to our fire department who take the time over the entire summer and into the fall to visit many of our block parties last year, and we hope this continues into this year. This is so very important in community building, especially at this time in our culture, in our society, and it is what sets Skokie apart. So thank you all very much.
Thank you. Please give our expression of congratulations to all of the members of the Human Relations Commission. I was at 2 block parties over the weekend and saw a couple members of the commission who stopped by, and I know that all of the neighbors appreciate that kind of participation. So thank you, Maria, and thanks to the village staff and to all of the members of the commission. We appreciate the hard work. And I know everybody is here for the village manager's building codes and other code amendments, but we do have one other very joyous occasion. And again, it's one of our commissions, the Board of Fire and Police Commission. Commissioner Nicole Padas is going to swear in 3 new police officers for us this evening. So, Nicole? While Nicole is coming up to the podium, I would like to introduce Chief Baker, our Chief of Police. And our Fire Chief is with us, Jeff Hofleck. So, Chief, welcome. All yours.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor Van Dusen, trustees, Village Clerk Shaw, Village Manager Lockerbie, Assistant Village Manager Wyatt, Corporation Counsel Lodge, Police Chief Baker, and Chief Hofleck, all who are here on a really special evening. I would like to especially acknowledge the family and friends of tonight's appointees. This is a proud moment for all of you. And I extend my congratulations to you and thank you for supporting your loved one during this journey leading up to this moment. Tonight, we will swear in 4 newly appointed police officers. We must never forget that the men and women who serve as first responders deserve our respect and admiration. They are often the first ones on the scenes of a tragedy and provide security and comfort to those who are suffering, and for that we are very thankful. We invest our first responders with authority to promote and keep the peace. They have earned our support, respect, and gratitude, and it is my great honor to be part of this very special ceremony tonight. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. So if I could please have Officer Brian Fitzgerald come up to the podium. So, here's your cheat sheet. So what I'll have you do is raise your right hand. I'm going to just repeat after me.
Very good.
Good, thank you. All right, so I, Brian Fitzgerald,
I, Brian Fitzgerald,
do solemnly swear that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States of America,
do solemnly swear that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States of America,
State of Illinois,
State of Illinois,
the ordinances of the Village of Skokie,
the ordinances of the Village of Skokie,
and the rules and regulations
and the rules and regulations
of the Police Department
of the Police Department
and the Skokie Board of Fire and Police Commission,
and the Skokie Board of Fire and Police Commission,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of a police officer to the best of my ability.
of a police officer to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
One more thing. So I can have you sign this. We'll get a copy of it from the chief. Very good. And this is for you. Thank you.
Okay, and
Congratulations.
Officer Fitzgerald, congratulations and welcome. Would you introduce your family and friends who have joined you this evening?
This is my fiancee, Annalie, my
Welcome.
younger sister, Kelly, my mother, and my father.
Welcome.
Okay, thank you. So we'll have our second police officer, please join me at the podium. Ariella Lowe, please. And you just repeat after me. If you raise your right hand. So I, Ariella Lowe,
I, Ariella Lowe,
do solemnly swear that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States of America,
do solemnly swear that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States of America,
State of Illinois,
State of Illinois,
the ordinances of the Village of Skokie,
the ordinances of the Village of Skokie,
and the rules and regulations
and the rules and regulations
of the Police Department
of the Police Department
and the Skokie Board of Fire and Police Commission,
and the Skokie Board of Fire and Police Commission,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of a police officer to the best of my ability.
of a police officer to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. This is just yours. I'm gonna give you a copy of it. So you can just sign it there. Good, thank you. This is for you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, Officer Lowe, would you introduce your family and friends who are with you?
This is my husband Jakob, my sister-in-law Ilana and her two children, my parents, and my parents-in-law.
Welcome.
Great, thank you. If I could please have Officer Alfonso Hernandez join me up at the podium. Good, how are you? Good. Here's your cheat sheet. To repeat after me, I'm gonna just put your right hand up. Great, thank you. I, Alfonso Hernandez,
I, Alfonso Hernandez,
do solemnly swear that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States of America,
do solemnly swear that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States of America,
State of Illinois,
State of Illinois,
the ordinances of the Village of Skokie,
the ordinances of the Village of Skokie,
and the rules and regulations
and the rules and regulations
of the Police Department
of the Police Department
and the Skokie Board of Fire and Police Commission,
and the Skokie Board of Fire and Police Commission,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of a police officer to the best of my ability.
of a police officer to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
you.
Welcome to Storefront. All right, so if I can handle yours, signed, your oath, and then you get a copy of that from the chief. Today is the 18th. Great, congratulations.
Thanks so much.
Okay, officer, would you introduce your family and friends who are with you?
Absolutely. It's my girlfriend Rachel and my loving parents.
Welcome.
Great, and last but not least, if I could please have Officer Zohaib Zabe, please join me at the podium. Hi. Good, how are you? So here is the outfit, yep, sorry. We can- well, she would just raise your right hand. Great. So I, Zohaib Zabe,
I, Zohaib Zabe,
do solemnly swear that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States of America,
do solemnly swear that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States of America,
State of Illinois,
State of Illinois,
the ordinances of the Village of Skokie,
the ordinance of the Village of Skokie,
and the rules and regulations
and the rules and regulations
of the Police Department
of the Police Department,
and the Skokie Board of Fire and Police Commission,
and the Skokie Board of Fire and Police Commission,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of a police officer to the best of my ability.
of a police officer to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Sorry. There's your code. You can just sign and date for these. Great. There you go. Congratulations.
Thank you very
Welcome.
much. Thank you.
Okay, Officer Zabe, I'm not letting you get away.
Yes,
Guess what I'm going to ask you to do? Would you introduce your family and friends who are with you?
that's my wife with 2 kids. She gave me 2 kids so far. My sister, who just came from Pakistan,
Oh, welcome.
and my parents.
Congratulations. And would you thank the commission for their hard work for us?
I absolutely will. Thank you.
When we talk about hours and hours of work, both the Human Relations Commission and the Board of Fire and Police Commission put in a tremendous amount of time, and we deeply appreciate it. And just so that the new officers understand, and I'm sure you've been told this, but we're immensely proud of our police and our fire departments, both. They both rank high in the national accreditations. They also rank very high in the esteem of the residents of the village of Skokie. I'll give way for just a second. We're immensely proud of our police and our fire. Every 3 years or so, we do a survey, which is independent of the village, and it's by a company that specializes in municipal government and rating all of the various departments. Within the community, our police and our fire departments always rank in the 90th approximate percentile. That is unheard of in most communities today. But it's because our police department and our fire department have earned that kind of trust. I cannot put it any better than Commissioner Podes did. We ask our police and our fire to run toward danger when most of us are hightailing it away from the danger. But in return for that, we're also grateful because you make us feel wanted, you make us feel trusted, and in return, you have our immense respect. I want to thank all of you for the service you have given our men and women in blue who are with us this evening, including our police chief. But also, I want to welcome you, and I expect I'll be seeing all of you back here for promotions and other kinds of activities. Thank you for joining the force. We look forward to working with you. And we'll take a 5-minute break so we can all congratulate our new officers and get to know their families a little bit. So we'll take a 5-minute break.
Trustee Robinson, can you hear me? Trustee Robinson, can you hear us? Can you say a few words?
Oh,
Test, test.
I have no idea.
All right, perfect. We can hear you.
They sent food to the first responders.
Who did?
The village unit.
Oh,
So if you want to mention.
This thing, we all hit it. I've been here long enough.
okay, the meeting of the village board will resume. Next item on our agenda is report of our village manager, John Lockerbie.
Thank you, Mayor Van Duzen and village trustees. Good evening, everyone. Item A is regarding a commercial corridor storefront enhancement program for 5041 Oakton Street. Christina Hadka, longtime owner of CK Studio Salon, currently at 8040 Lincoln Avenue, and her husband Tariq Krubik have applied for funding under the Commercial Corridor Storefront Enhancement Program, commonly known as SEP. Christina and her husband purchased the 2-unit, 5,700 square foot building previously leased by Subway and other businesses at 5041 to 5043 Oakton Street. Based in part on all the new development and investment occurring in downtown Skokie, this new location will triple the size of the current studio space to over 3,760 square feet, as well as increase the total number of employees from 8 to up to 26 during the first 18 to 24 months. The couple also has listed a smaller space, approximately 1,900 square feet, on the eastern side of the facility with the goal of leasing to a complementary business to the salon, such as a cafe or service retailer. The applicant has received several bids for the major components of the interior and exterior work. The work includes electrical, plumbing, mechanical, HVAC, flooring, drywall, painting, and signage. The lowest estimate for the eligible investments and improvements to be undertaken totals approximately $275,000, and of that, approximately $59,802 is deemed eligible for reimbursement. Therefore, the total village grant recommended is a maximum $50,000 plus $3,500 in architectural or design fees. The total grant will not exceed $53,500, which would be transferred to the owner following the completion of all the work, final inspections, and submittal of all required documentation. Mayor and board approval for a grant not to exceed $53,500 is respectfully requested for CK Studio Salon, located at 5041 Oakton Street. And I should mention that Christina and Tariq are in the audience this evening.
Welcome. First, the record will recognize that Trustee Robinson has joined us via Zoom. Welcome. A motion to support the Commercial Corridor Storefront Enhancement Program for 5041 Oakton Street would be in order. Trustee Kuhn, seconded by Trustee Sutker. Are there any comments or any questions? If not, call the roll, please.
Trustee Sutker,
Aye.
trustee Robinson,
Aye. Thanks, Ben.
trustee Kuhn,
Aye.
trustee Johnson,
Aye.
trustee Pure Slovan,
Aye.
trustee Klein,
Aye.
Mayor Van Dusen.
Aye. Welcome. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Item B is regarding the building codes and other code amendments. The community development and fire departments are recommending updates to various building codes, including adoption of the 2021 International Building Code, the 2021 International Residential Code, the 2021 International Mechanical Code, and the 2021 International Fuel Gas Code, the 2021 International Property Maintenance Code, and the 2020 National Electrical Code with local amendments. These proposed codes are the latest additions. The codes contain the latest updates for use of materials, construction methods, and safety, as well as updates for energy efficiency. I concur with staff's recommendation. The mayor and board are respectfully requested to authorize Corporation Council to draft the necessary changes.
A motion would be trustee Johnson, seconded by trustee Pure Slovan. Are there any comments or questions? If not, call the roll, please.
Trustee Sutker,
Aye.
trustee Robinson, trustee Kuhn,
Aye.
trustee Johnson,
Aye.
trustee Pure Slovan,
Aye.
trustee Klein,
Aye.
Mayor Van Dusen.
Aye, the motion passes.
Items C and D were approved as part of tonight's consent agenda, and that completes my report this evening.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is report of our Corporation Counsel. This evening, we have Assistant Counsel Barbara Mangler.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everybody. Unfortunately, Michael couldn't be here due to the unforeseen rigors of travel. On the agenda this evening, items A, B, and C have been adopted on the consent agenda. And item D, we have our routine backlot bash ordinance, which will grant temporary relief from Chapter 10, Section 10-10 of the Skokie Village Code pertaining to the possession and consumption of alcohol on the village-owned right-of-way. As you know, this year we have our 15th annual backlot bash, August 26th, 27th, and 28th. And there will be a fenced-in area where alcohol will be served, as we do as in years past. The Park District will get the license, and this is only a temporary relief from our village code. This is up for first reading, and we'll be back on the August 1st, 2022 meeting for second reading and adoption.
Are there any comments or questions? This is fairly routine, an annual exercise we go through. Next item on the agenda is a discussion of referendum. Trustee Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. So as I mentioned at our last meeting, I'm hoping this can be a really open-ended and proactive discussion regarding referendum. Since our June 20th meeting, when there were 3 resolutions for referendum that were introduced and then withdrawn, I've been hoping that we could just have kind of a deeper conversation, less of a kind of a reactive conversation and more of a proactive conversation about what it would mean for the board to use this power moving forward, the power of referendum by board resolution. The village board putting questions on our ballot for voter input. Recently, we've been asked to consider 6 different referendum questions, 3 binding questions for electoral reform that have been circulating in the community, as well as 3 advisory questions for sustainability that were proposed by the mayor. And since we've yet to discuss any of them publicly as a board, I was hoping we could have a kind of a broader discussion about if we should consider using this power of resolution for referendum at all, and if so, and how to do so meaningfully in the future. As I've mentioned to all of you individually, I've retracted my suggestion from the last meeting that we consider using this power before the upcoming August 8th deadline for the November election. So this isn't necessarily for the immediate future, but for the long term, for 2023 or 2024 or beyond, I'm hoping we could get a better sense of whether the board is interested in using this power, and if so, how. I'm not aware of the village board using this power in the past. I know there was a question in 2012 related to electrical aggregation that I'm not, but that being said, there are examples of our neighboring communities using this power. Just a week ago tonight, actually, the Evanston City Council passed a resolution for referendum regarding ranked choice voting. And if it's approved by Evanston voters in November, Evanston will become the first municipality in the state to use ranked choice voting for their elections, which personally I think is really exciting. Just last month, Niles voters voted on 2 referendum that came from the Niles Village Board. One was an advisory question on redevelopment at Gulf Mill, which passed, and one was a kind of controversial binding question related to form of government, and this question actually failed to pass by just a few dozen votes. So different boards use this power in different ways, sometimes productively, sometimes not, sometimes, as in the case of Skokie historically, not at all. So yeah, my big picture question for the trustees tonight and for everyone is whether there's kind of interest from the board in using this power in the future, and if so, how? That's kind of the big picture question. And for the sake of conversation, I was wondering if we could break it down by theme, since we've been asked to consider questions on electoral reform and sustainability. And also, I mean, this power can be used in all sorts of other ways, so I was going to kind of add just an other category, if there any interest in using this power in other ways. How does that sound? Does that sound okay?
Well, one of the things I would suggest is that Michael isn't here this evening, but I would like to ask him, he should be back in the office in the next day or so, given the rigors of travel, apparently. He was held up. But have him maybe produce a report for us. There are basically 2 types of referendum. There's binding, which can be very, very iffy, because it means when it passes, whether it's 50 plus 1 or it is overwhelming, the state or the municipality is bound irrevocably. It takes a great deal of education, and I can't say that our experience in the state has been all that good. I still remember a few years ago, and I didn't get a chance to look it up, but maybe one of you would remember when we did the transportation lockbox referendum. I don't know how many of you remember that, but it was statewide. It was put on the ballot by the legislature, so it's comparable kind of thing. And it has tied the state's hands in case of an emergency. This was all pre-COVID. What it essentially did is it said that no money that derives from fees, taxes, or any other kind of money dedicated to transportation can be used even in case of emergency for anything else. At that time, Laura Fine was in the Illinois House, and she was one of the few who voted against it. And I think her foresight has been proven. So I've always had some concerns about binding referendum, but I think we should learn more about it. Advisory referendums are there to help educate the public and also to apprise a legislature of how the public is leaning in certain cases. And these also are educational. And I do think that there should be a continuing conversation that the board should have. What I would recommend is that we let Michael produce a report for us, and then we continue our education on the subject. I I don't remember, an electrical aggregation. Yeah, I thought it was on the ballot.
It was,
I don't remember how, I've been trying to figure out and remember the device we used to put it on the ballot. But I believe it was binding, if I remember correctly.
I think it was.
Do you remember, John?
I believe it was binding.
It was in
yeah.
several of the suburbs too.
Yes, there were 6 others in addition to us. But does anybody else have any comments?
Oh, sorry. So were you suggesting kind of delaying this discussion until Michael could give us some more info, or?
Well, I think I'm more than willing to continue the discussion.
If I could interject, I think that I would have no objection, obviously, based on, obviously we need to hear from Michael, on an advisory referendum, depending on what the subject is, because I think on the sustainability issue, I think we're jumping the gun because we haven't heard from the commission, and I think it's unfair to jump before we hear their new report. That's why we have a commission, and that's why they've been appointed to come to us. So I don't feel like I have anything to discuss on that. Obviously, I have an opinion, but I think, that there are people that are looking at it, and I think that that's really important. And then on the other issues that have been brought up, and that's to do with voting referendums, I think that we need an opportunity as a body, whether it's in this context, et cetera, because of the Open Meeting Act, to discuss it. I'm not comfortable without hearing what my other colleagues have to say. I think that I also learn from other people's perspectives. So I don't know how that works, and that's something Michael will have to come back to us and explain how we can do that in an Open Meeting Act so that we can have a educated conversation about what we think would be good for the village, which is our responsibility. So I have no problem with that. I'm not ready to jump into referendum until I'm ready to make an opinion.
Okay, totally.
If that makes any sense.
It does. We do have plenty of time before we would, but I think it's a good subject for us to take up, and perhaps at some point in the future, we may, I think everybody has got some ideas on the subject. So is that a course of action?
Any other thoughts from the trustees, or any interest in pursuing this in the future for electoral reform or sustainability or perhaps other issues?
When you say this, are you talking about putting a referendum or having a discussion? There's two different thises.
Oh, true. Either, but kind of more the latter, whether kind of an openness to using the board's power of referendum by resolution.
Yep,
Yeah, I
Trustee
mean,
Cook.
I would be open to that. I think it's going to be a case-by-case basis in terms of evaluating, understanding the issue, vetting it before we actually put a question out there. And so it's hard to answer. It's like, yes, in general, we support it, but we also want to make sure that the use case is appropriate as well.
Yeah, I think it's going to depend on what it is and what we talk about. I mean, I want to be clear that you're saying this is not affecting what's happening for the November election.
Correct.
And so that's already out into the public is doing whatever they're doing, and I want to respect that process. So I think you're talking about like thinking about it as a future, which is fine with me, but I also don't want to say when in 23 or 24,
yeah.
because we don't know what it would be and what it would look like, and so I don't want to box myself into anything either. I want to
Absolutely.
see what's out there.
Yeah.
Well, legally speaking, we could not do it now. If I understand state law, and I'm only practicing law, I'm not educated in the law, but I believe there are deadlines that are established each election by which, either by petition or by village-sponsored resolution, you can put it out. But I do not believe, legally speaking, we could put it on a referendum for, say, next April. I think there would be a beginning and an ending point when we
Well,
could do that. I think the
that's
State
some
Board
of
of
what we
Elections
need to
may.
learn.
Right, that's why.
Because I don't know
think-
either, and I kind of want to understand.
I think you're right, Mayor. I think pursuant to state law, and I'm no expert in election law by any stretch of the imagination, but there are deadlines set prior to each election where referendum can be put on the ballot either by a council or by popular vote.
Great.
Yeah, and hopefully Michael's report would give us, and Trustee Robinson, everybody tells me I've ignored you. I apologize.
It's all good, man. Thanks. I feel like I gotta catch up. And first, congratulate the Block Party. To congratulate our members of the forces. So congratulations to them and their families. But I just have a couple of thoughts. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
It's kind of,
We got a referendum. You know, obviously there's a lot more that me personally I'd love to learn and explore. I will make the commitment, conversations, and learn more. I think the public forum is great about that. I really look forward to Michael Woods and whatever recommendations he will have and materials that he has to educate us so that we can in turn collectively learn about this as a community moving forward.
Okay. I think, I can't, no, he's not. I thought Trustee Robinson was frozen, but or maybe intermittently frozen.
yeah.
I don't know if it did everything.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Microphone might be a little.
Just as kind of a final question, just to keep this, not to box anyone in or anything, but are there any specific issues that the board would like the rest of the board to consider moving forward that could be of interest for specific topics for referendum?
I don't have any in mind now.
I don't know, that's okay.
For me, the process that some community members are exploring right now in their effort, great, you know, that's what happens. The board's power to put forth resolutions. Again, for me, I'd like to explore that further and just learn a lot collectively and collaboratively as a community.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. The concluding item this evening is public comment. Is there anybody who wishes to address the village board? Yes, ma'am. If you would come to the microphone and give us your name, please. Thank you.
My name is Emi Yamauchi, and actually, I didn't really want to address the board. I had like a couple of questions. One is related to this discussion about referendums, and I'm hoping that whatever the report has, it will also describe, at least for the voters, whether something that is passed by referendum can only then be undone by referendum.
If it's a binding referendum.
Right.
Right.
Okay, and if so, I'm sorry, and then separate from that, if, not related to referendum, but this is going back to Carvana, the evening news had the story that Carvana again has been suspended by the state of Illinois from doing business. So it's kind of like two strikes against Carvana at this point. And I'm just wondering if the village might have an update on, I know originally when they were first suspended, the board said that they were going to wait until Carvana was kind of like completely reinstated to do business in Illinois without any restrictions on, being able to do one thing but not another. And now they've been suspended again completely for, I guess, some of the same things.
Yes and no, but yes.
Okay, so I'm just wondering, what is there an
Nothing
update
has
on Carvana?
changed. We are not letting building permits at all. There are no building permits. The Secretary of State has moved the hearing date to, I think it was August 18th. Don't hold me to that. I'm just going off the top of my head, but my recollection is that it was August 18th. They have permitted Carvana to use third-party vendors to do processing for them. But that's the sum total of my knowledge. And as far as the Village of Skokie is concerned, there are no permits. We will not issue any permits until the Secretary of State has made a decision. So,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome. Okay. Oh, yes, if you would come up.
Okay, I don't really know where to set this up. I'm pretty loud, so I don't even know if I have to use this microphone, but I'm just going to give a really quick presentation and ask a question, and then I'll go.
Okay, if we could have your name to begin
My name
with.
is Patrick, local weirdo.
Okay. The record will show the local weirdo Patrick.
It's very obvious. Okay, so David Halpern is an American theorist in the fields of gender studies, queer theory, critical theory, and others. According to David Halpern, to have a queer identity is to have an identity without an essence. As such, queer is a movement, a deployment, which unsettles all attempts to fix theology and God within the contingent lineaments of the heteropatriarchy. Queer is what all theology should be. The Village of Skokie hosted what was referred to as a family-friendly drag queen story hour on June 26th, in which I assume many children were present. We are told that the purpose of these drag queen events are to foster a greater sense of inclusion. But according to an academic paper called, this is real, Drag Pedagogy, the Playful Practice of Queer Imagination in Early Childhood, written by a queer theorist and a drag queen who goes by the name of Little Miss Hot Mess. This is from that paper. It may be the drag queen story hour is family-friendly in the sense that it is accessible and inviting to families with children, but it is less a sanitizing force than it is a preparatory introduction to alternate modes of kinship. Here, drag queen story hour is family-friendly in the sense of family as an old school queer code to identify and connect with other queers on the street. I'm almost done. Judith Butler is a queer theorist who essentially wrote the very first queer theory paper. According to Judith Butler, they, it's her pronoun, suggests that queer as a term should never be fully owned, but always and only redeployed, twisted, queered from a prior usage and in the direction of urgent and expanding political purposes. While proponents argue that this flexibility allows for the constant readjustment of queer theory to accommodate the experiences of people who face marginalization and discrimination on account of their sexuality and gender. So as you can see, based on the words of two queer theorists and a drag queen, queer is not some sexuality like everyone thinks it is. It's a theory that is designed to be constantly changing, to assimilate all different kinds of groups within it, and then use the people in these groups for political purposes. This is not some far-right website. This is just from a queer theory paper. My question, did the folks in Skokie in charge of organizing this event know the purpose of Drag Queen Story Hour is to indoctrinate children into an unstable identity for political purposes? Or did they think it was just about inclusion? That's my question. Does anyone know what queer theory is?
Skokie Park District is a separate.
Yes.
Is it? Okay, if that's the case, I just had to bring this because I
Hold
went
on,
to Skokie and talked to you guys about this.
Hold on.
Because this is of great concern to me and millions of other people in the country.
Well, as was just pointed out, the Skokie Park District.
Is a separate entity.
le-
I guess that's my lack of research that got me there. I was just excited because I wanted to bring this to you guys to let you know that queer isn't some sort of sexuality, it's a political theory.
We understand.
You understand, okay.
I do not agree with the theory, but I understand what you are saying.
Okay. I appreciate you guys
Skokie, are
listening.
you a neighbor
Oh, no, I'm some weirdo from out of town. Yeah, you can drive me out of town with Pit Force.
So,
Yeah.
but.
That's all I
but-
wanted to say, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll be quick.
Okay.
I'll go to the microphone. I'm loud. I'm telling
Okay.
I just want to clarify what Emmy was talking about. I think you're not aware that today, Illinois reinstated the full suspension against Carvana. And Henry Haupt, I think he's the Secretary of State Police, which I didn't even know existed before this whole thing, said that since the agreed order to stay the suspension, Carvana has continued to violate Illinois law, including by giving Illinois residents out-of-state temporary registration plates in violation of the May agreement, according to the Secretary of State spokesman, Harry Haupt. This is illegal, he said. So they are under full suspension. I just wanted to make
I
sure that
understand.
that was
We
clear.
know. I understand.
But they can't use third-party anything if they're fully suspended.
Good evening. So I'm Carrie Bradan. I'm a Skokie resident. Thank you for your comments that you want to respect the citizen-led ballot initiatives that are out there. We are appreciative of that. And I don't have prepared comments, so this is off the cuff. I think a couple of things that I was thinking about as I was listening to the discussion. I heard the concerns about referendums when there are complex policy and budgeting decisions at play. And I actually share those concerns. I had those concerns in addition to the ways that those sustainability advisory referendums would have blocked a citizen-led initiative. I also had concerns about putting very complex sustainability matters to the public without great context, without the benefit of all of the studies that the Public Works Department and all of them have done, right? You all have access to all of that. The public wouldn't with one question written to them. It's not actually a method for educating the public, and it's hard to make complex, important policy decisions via one-sentence advisory referendum. So I share that concern. The difference with the referendums that the citizen-led initiative are putting forward for electoral reform, as I see it, is the citizens are deciding how we elect the people who we want to make those complex policy decisions. And that decision should be, in fact, in the hands of the citizens, not in the hands of those who are in power, right? It shouldn't be up to those sitting in the seats to decide how they get reelected to those seats. That should be up to the citizens. So I think that's a really important distinction. I just wanted to lift up there, that I think that belongs solely to the citizens. The other thing I just wanted to say, I had no intention of saying this, but the gentleman who spoke earlier had me a little, so I just wanted to say that I know it's not your board, but I just want to say publicly, I love that Skokie had that Pride event. As a mom, I took my children, it was phenomenal. I also have a master's degree in women's and gender studies, focused specifically in queer theory. I love queer theory, I love drag story hour. I love the Pride Parade. I'm very, not Pride Parade, the Pride Fest at the park. I'm very proud that Skokie did that, and 2 thumbs up. Thank you all.
Thank you.
You're driving. Okay. Can you? Thank you. And then if I hit the arrow, will it just? Okay. My name is Lauren Grednicki. Mayor, welcome back. I don't know how many of you guys have ever watched fireworks and thought, how do they get them to be those different colors? Or maybe, when the James Webb Telescope announced that there was water vapor in the atmosphere of this planet, what's it called? WASP 96b. How do they know that? Well, I'll tell you. But first, let's go back to white light. So if you have a thing that is incandescent, meaning that it's glowing because it's hot, it looks white to our eyes, actually to our brains, how our brains perceive light. And if you were to put that light through a prism, oh, I forgot my laser pointer. If you were to put that light through a prism, you would spread it out into what looks like a rainbow, where you have Red light has longer wavelengths, and the purple light is at the other end of the rainbow with the shortest wavelengths. And if you were to break it down even further and measure how much energy is coming in at each wavelength, it would look something like this. No matter what the temperature is, it always has the same shape. At some point, you're going to have this peak emission, so we call that the peak wavelength, and there are tails at either side. The height, I put it so you can't see the numbers because it doesn't matter. Because the height depends on the temperature of the object. And this peak wavelength, which wavelength it is, also depends on the temperature of the object. And again, I'm not telling you what the temperature of this object is, so I didn't give you any numbers here. Here are two specific objects. You've got this star here, which actually is a lot like the sun. This band that you see here is the band where visible light, like we can actually see with our eyes these wavelengths that it's emitting here. Now you have a, say, incandescent light bulb or a much cooler star. This is not drawn to scale because these should never ever cross. But if you drew it to scale, this would be like way down here and it would be difficult to see the shape. So here's just one more example of these things that are emitting because they're hot. They're just glowing, they're emitting at all the different wavelengths, just different amounts of energy at each wavelength. And here again, you see this actually has numbers for the different wavelengths of visible light. And things to keep in mind, yeah, again, anything with a temperature radiates light. We're all radiating light right now. The hotter the object, the more energy at all wavelengths it radiates. Because notice how the human, again, that's not drawn to scale. If you did draw it to scale, you wouldn't even see the line for the human on this graph. And the 15,000 temperature or Kelvin star would be way off the picture. The hotter the object, the shorter the wavelength of its maximum energy of its peak. By the way, the fact that these blue wavelengths are so much shorter in wavelength than the red is why you can fit more information on a Blu-ray disc than on a typical DVD. Because, see, there are interesting things, right? Because the blue wavelengths are actually shorter, so to see the little like ones and zeros, they can be closer together if you use blue light than if you use red light. So that's why we use Blu-ray to fit more information. By the way, here's another one of these public service announcements, things you didn't know you're going to learn when you came here today. Incandescent light bulbs, like I said, they glow because they're hot. This is black body radiation, and the hotter the bulb, the brighter and bluer it is. But LED and CFL bulbs don't glow because they're hot. The LEDs are light-emitting diodes. They're basically glowing because of quantum mechanics. The CFLs, the compact fluorescent bulbs, are glowing because of a different principle in quantum mechanics. But we are used to these old-fashioned incandescent bulbs, and we know what like daylight and soft white and warm mean in terms of their color. So they put these equivalent temperatures on the CFLs and the LED bulbs. Again, this has nothing to do with climate science. It has to do with when you go to the hardware store to buy a light bulb, what the effective temperature means. It means that if you had an incandescent bulb of that temperature, this is what color this LED or the CFL would look like. So, okay, moving on. So the filaments now we're getting a little bit back to climate and mitigation. The filament in the incandescent bulb really is 3,000 Kelvin or 5,000 Kelvin if it's very hot. But it takes so much more energy to get that filament up to that temperature than to produce the same amount of visible light that CFL or LED, right? You see how this is making a lot less, this is putting out a lot less energy at wavelengths we can't see. This one, the incandescent light bulb, is it okay if you look kind of alarmed when I stood up here? The incandescent light bulb is putting out all of this energy in the infrared part of the spectrum that our eyes can't use. That energy is just wasted because we are not using it.
Lauren, you wanted me to tell you when 5 minutes was up?
Oh, sorry. Can I have 2 more minutes?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, so here's a cool thing. Now, let's say I have a single element. I have just potassium or just copper or just sodium. If you stick it in a fire, this is like a Bunsen burner. If you stick it in a fire, the sodium is that yellow color. The potassium is that sort of purplish pink color. The copper is green. And if you were to take that light and spread it out through a prism, the way we did with the incandescent light bulb or the sun, you don't get a rainbow. What you get are very specific wavelengths. So here, copper is emitting just those few wavelengths, which look pretty greenish. And I don't have sodium on here, but I will get it. If you have, here are some more examples of different compounds, and each compound has its own unique color. So for example, what was it here? Sodium. Those sodium lights that you see sometimes on the street, they look yellow because sodium only is emitting these yellow lines. Potassium is emitting these lines here. Copper is very strong in the green, which is why the copper one looks green. If it's not neon, so here's what neon looks like. Neon's there, and you see it has a lot of very strong red lines. If you see one of these lights, and it's not this color, it's not a neon light. This one is an argon light. If it's blue, it's probably argon, or it could be mercury. So each compound, I'm getting now to how we know that that was water in that planet that James Webb showed us. Each atom or molecule or salt has its own unique arrangement of electrons. So it has its own unique set of these lines that it will emit if you heat it up. And this is true whether the compound is emitting the light because it's hot or it's absorbing the light because you're shining a white rainbow into it. So let's say we have this hot source, right? And then we just take its light and we spread it out and we get the rainbow. And then let's say instead we send that white light through a thin cloud of gas, and then we spread out what's left. This gas is actually going to absorb very specific wavelengths depending on what the gas is.
Okay, Lauren, time to sum up.
Okay, and that's how we know what we're looking at when we look at stars. This is how we know what stars are made out of. Next, this is a curve that I showed you guys last time, and this is the carbon dioxide absorbing the light, the infrared light that Earth is putting out, trying to radiate out into space. Okay, fine. I'll start with that next time. But here, oops, that didn't happen. Here, this is the imbalance, right? The carbon dioxide that we humans have put into the air so far is trapping an extra 6 watts per every square meter of Earth on average. So that's why we need to turn off the gas right now. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Robinson.
Hello, everyone. Thanks, Lauren. I believe that I'm not there to see the visuals, so forgive me. But I am just compared after Patrick came to the mic, I needed to say something. So I just wanted to say that our values, it's not perfect, but we strive for inclusivity, which includes all genders and ethnicities. And folks who visit our community are moved by understatements and judgments. So they have the right to do so. My only ask is you go back to your community and submit an invitation to a really special place. But also welcome them. In layman's terms, throw shade when you're in the dark. So we have to start enlightenment.
Keith, I'm sorry, but I didn't understand a word you said. I'm sorry.
Mayor, can he submit it into the minutes so that we can understand what you said, because your microphone wasn't good?
Yeah.
You couldn't hear that?
I heard you can't throw shade in the dark.
Would you write up what you wanted to share with us?
Yes,
maybe send it. If you can send it to me in email, I'll share it with everybody. Thank you. He's in Florida. Trustee Sucker.
No, I was just wondering if we could help him, but it sounds like it's on his end.
Yeah, we tried to adjust the volume and we couldn't make it work.
That was painful.
Trustee Sutker.
I move we adjourn.
We're adjourned. Thank you.